Hello everyone, Ian here from the Take A Pew Podcast. Now, when we did the very first episode, asked to give his favourite film, the Reverend Mark Potter insisted on giving us his top 5. And since that time, the top 5 films has become so popular that it's now a standing feature of the My Favourite Things part of the show. So we thought we'd just bring you 3 examples of the top 5s from 3 massive film buffs. The Reverend Potter himself, Reverend Ravi Holy and the Reverend Tim Heaney, just so that we can see what 3 vicars make of the world of celluloid. So here we go. Enjoy!
Take a pew.
This is Take a Pew with the Reverend Mark Potter. Your favourite film?
Okay, that's a very good question. The Empire Strikes Back.
It's an unusually certain response. Normally people would say, I don't know, I've got 20.
I've got a top 5 list.
Go on then.
And
if we have to, let's go there.
Can we just interrupt? What's your favourite bit in The Empire Strikes Back?
Yes, good question. I think it's probably when they're in the Cloud City, where Luke is getting ready to face Vader, and then he has the fight with Vader, and then his hand gets chopped off and everything. But that whole Cloud City scene is amazing in terms of the dinner with Darth Vader, with Han Solo and Leia and Chewbacca. They go through, don't they? And Darth Vader sort of says, "We'd be delighted if you'd join us," and Chewbacca like that, and then you get that sort of whole thing of you're sitting down for a meal with Darth Vader, which is a bit awkward. Yeah. But I just love it. It's got a darkness to it, that film, which some of the other Star Wars films don't have quite in the same way. So I think it's Irving Kershner directed it, and he brings out this kind of slightly dark edge to the film, which gives it a bit of depth. And
is that the one where Captain Kirk lands on that alien?
Unbelievable.
So you're going to give us your top 5 though, Mark?
Top 5, okay. So starting at 5, I would say
good.
Almost Famous, which is about a lad who poses as a reporter for Rolling Stone magazine and follows this band Stillwater across the US, reporting on, and it's just a really cool, almost a coming of age film.
Choice. Really, quite a niche choice, that one, isn't it? I
have seen it. It's amazing. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and I think partly because I'm into music and into playing and gigging and all that kind of thing. Yeah. I love that film.
Yeah.
The Usual Suspects, number 4.
Oh yeah, okay.
And then number 3, Jaws.
Jaws 3D.
No.
The very first one?
Just the very first.
Oh, okay. What's your favourite line from Jaws, then? Is that the bit when he...
There's not it's a shark, it's not a lion.
Oh, gosh, yes, sorry. So if I was to say to you, that's a 20-footer.
25. 3 tons of him.
This is going horrible somewhere.
It's all going horribly
It's
wrong.
going to a horrible place.
But it's a wonderful place. This is the best part of the interview. Seriously. Anyway...
Did we do number 2? No, it's still
number 2, The Shawshank Redemption.
Oh.
And then number 1, The Empire Strikes Back. Brilliant. So, yeah.
This is the Take A Pew podcast with the Reverend Ravi Holy. And so your top 5 films.
Okay, so the top 4 is quite easy.
Okay.
So we might have to have a sort of vote off for the fifth.
Okay,
one.
that's good.
Right.
We like those. Yeah.
So the top 4 in chronological order.
Right.
I'm really geeky about movies. I mean, it's terrifying. So Kind Hearts and Coronets.
Wow. Okay.
1949. Have you seen?
Yes, I have.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
Black and white.
It's a great film.
Yeah.
If Oscar Wilde wrote, directed, and starred in a film, this would be that film.
Okay.
It's my recommendation.
I'll write that one down.
Number 2, Singing in the Rain.
Oh.
Which is, I've always loved. I had the privilege of seeing a 4K restoration of it at the National Film Theatre recently. And it was just absolutely overwhelming. Yeah. Just pure joy on celluloid. Amazing.
Wow.
Okay. Number 3, The Godfather, which is probably my actual favourite film.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. And what, The Godfather, not 2 or 3?
I mean, I like 2.
Yeah.
Well, no, 2 is... It's a toss-up between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Up until recently, I would have said 3 was almost on the same level, but we watched it again recently, and I do think it is...
It's quite slow, isn't it? Yeah, it's very atmospheric. It's a bit like the first hour of The Deer Hunter, isn't it?
Like The Deer Hunter as well.
Yeah.
But I think it is The Godfather, the original Godfather. It's just... I just love it so much. And
it has lots in common with Singing in the Rain, doesn't it? It's almost like watching the same film back to back. I'm
just trying to think if there is any connection I could make.
Well, we can work on
the
that.
two.
I'm sure
I'll come back to you
we
on
can
that.
come up with something.
And then number 4 is Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Ooh.
I mean, I'm a big Kubrick fan, and
Yeah.
I do love that movie. A mind-blowing film. I've seen it several times at the cinema as well as on video.
I've
Yeah.
only seen that once at the cinema. Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it once.
So that's 4.
Yeah,
So that's 4. So I mean, competing for 5th place as about another set. I mean, really, what I'm doing is getting a sort of top 10 in here by pretending. But
Okay, we've had that trick before in other categories.
contenders for it would be Back to the Future, When Harry Met Sally, Lawrence of Arabia,
Ooh,
Like that one.
a David Lynch film like Lost Highway,
Oh, I don't know that.
or
That
Mulholland
sounds like the
Drive.
arty choice.
Yeah, it's the arty choice.
yeah.
I'm very partial to Oliver Stone's film of JFK,
Yeah.
and if I was going to have a Hitchcock, it would be Dial M for Murder.
Great. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, let's go with that. Let's go with
Yeah.
Dial M for Murder
Murder,
is my number 5
Yes.
then.
I watched that again recently because we saw it at the theatre, darling.
Right.
A few months ago.
What, a play of it?
A play of it, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is quite unusual in Guildford. And so immediately having watched that, we thought we must try and watch it. So we we couldn't find it for a while. Eventually, and we were looking for A Perfect Murder,
Which is also good.
Yeah.
I really like A Perfect.
And then we eventually found the Dial M for Murder and the wonderful police inspector.
He's
so well played,
yeah.
It's great. Anyway. Well, anyway, listeners, if you haven't seen Dial M for Murder for a while, or any other of those wonderful films, they're all great choices. This is the Take A Pew Podcast with the Reverend Tim Heaney. Okay, well, our third category is always our top 5, and it's still your top 5 films. I'm sure this wasn't an easy...
well, it is,
List
as
to
any
come.
film buff will say, a top 5 is a nightmare.
It's tough, isn't it?
As Nick Hornby would say about songs. If you'd said a top 10, I could have done that really easily because I spent a lot of time and thought working on top 10, but a top 5 is really hard. So I would start with Casablanca as my number 1. Casablanca is my favourite film, so that's an easy one to start with as number 1. 2, 3, and 4 would include Magnolia. I love Paul Thomas Anderson. I love his films. He's one of my favourite living directors. But it was also the film that was part of my process at theological college of growing to see films in a different way. I'd always loved films. I'd always loved going to the cinema. But it was at theological college that I began to think about films as art, think about how films speak to you, how God speaks to you through films, I believe. I wrote my dissertation on this very topic, and Magnolia was the film that I used as the basis for my dissertation.
So for those not familiar with the film Magnolia, I'm familiar with the paint colour. But...
It's what we call a portmanteau film, to be pretentious. So it's a number of different characters with different stories, but they're all They're all based in the San Fernando Valley in California. Tom Cruise is a motivational speaker. I think it's Tom Cruise's greatest performance. I think he's marvellous in it. He's estranged from his father, Jason Robards, who is dying of cancer, and Philip Seymour Hoffman plays Jason Robards' nurse, who tries to contact him with his son. But basically, all these stories intertwine and intersect, and then come together in a way at the end. And there are biblical references and miracles and all kinds of stuff thrown into the mix.
It sounds very similar to Herbie Rides Again, I think.
I think it may be. It's effectively a remake.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes,
yes.
great. It's definitely a film buff's choice, that one, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, great.
It's a fantastic film. Yes. Third, I'm going to go for Die Hard. I mean, just love Die Hard. It's not the greatest Christmas film ever, but it is the greatest action film ever. It's just one of those films I could just watch again and again and again.
That's quite a surprising choice, a remarkably populist choice. How about that?
Fourth, I'm going to go Singing in the Rain. I love musicals. I love Hollywood musicals, and Singing in the Rain is the best Hollywood musical. I mean, that's just, it's a fact. It's a fact.
Goes without saying. Yeah.
I saw it at the BFI a few years ago, and I'd only ever seen it on telly. And there's just something magical about seeing a film at the cinema that just lifts it to a different perspective. So that's
a very good point. I've certainly never seen Singing in the Rain in the cinema.
It's I just get very geeky. It's a square. It's filmed square. It's not wide angle Technicolor like you'd expect. One of the other things I love about Singing in the Rain is it's a film about filmmaking. So I love films about filmmaking. You know, any film that's set in the film industry kind of has an extra point as far as I'm concerned. You know, it's got that old ratio. Is it the 4:3 ratio? Something like that. And it's all kinds of things that just make it interesting. And if you've never seen Casablanca on a big screen either, it's just fantastic. The black and whites just come alive on a big screen in a way they don't on the TV at all.
It's very interesting. Yeah, might have to try a bit of art house cinema.
Yeah, do please. So that's the top 4. So then, oh god, then it's just.
Now you're struggling. You've only got one slot left.
And I'm very conscious that all 4 of my films so far have been American, but I have to be honest and say those probably are my four top favourite films. So in terms of choosing a 5th, I mean, I love It's a Wonderful Life, but I can't have another American film. So I'm going to, as my 5th film, I'm going to go for Ikuru, which is Akira Kurosawa. And it's a film, which I suppose it's been on my mind recently because it's just been remade as Living with Bill Nighy. Now, Akira is a full-on masterpiece. I mean, it is staggeringly stunning in every respect. So when I heard that they were doing a remake, I was very nervous. But although I haven't seen Living yet, I hear very good things about it. So actually, I am quite looking forward to it.
So you've mentioned 6 then.
Well, I mentioned It's a Wonderful Life, but my
fine.
5.
So you've got 4 left in your top 10. You may as well just fill it in on the other 4.
Well, we need some more comedy and we need some British films. So Life of Brian, I love Life of Brian. I do love Woody Allen, so I know that's not politically correct anymore. I mean, at one time I've had both Annie Hall and Manhattan in my top 10, but not quite at the moment. So my other big love is Tarantino, and I could quite easily put Pulp Fiction in the top 5, but I love Kill Bill 1 as well. So yeah, Pulp Fiction would be in my top 10.
It's nice to see a good bit of violence coming in.
We need to have a longer conversation about Tarantino's view of violence, but I think I could justify it filmically. I mean, Tarantino is probably one of the smartest cineasts that I know. He really understands the history of the cinema and what is justified and what is necessary in terms of presenting a film and a story.
Well, I think it's a beautifully curated list.
Wow.
Thank you.